I started by doing some die cutting off camera, and this is all Spectrum Noir watercolor cardstock. I have a smaller circular panel here. I have a stitched rectangle, and I'm going to create some texture on these two panels using similar but different techniques. And then for the third one, you can already see all the texture that was created by the stitched wood grain backdrop die. And this was obviously very quick to make. It is as fast as running a die through a die cutting machine, and this background die is absolutely beautiful. I used it on my latest video where I made a fall card, and here you can see how you can use it on a winter or Christmas themed card. Alright, so at this point it's time to move on and work on the second panel, which is my stitched rectangle. I'm using the Snowflake Trio Stencil by Fawn, and I'm using my Make Art Station to keep my stencil and my cardstock in place. In order to create texture and sparkle, I'm using Nuvo Glimmer Paste in the color Moonstone. This is very beautiful, it dries clear and it has some really lovely iridescent glitter. It is however sold out at the moment, but you could use instead the Gina K Designs Glitz Glitter Gel in the iridescent color, so I'm going to link that in the description box down below too. These kind of glitter pastes are a mess-free way to add glitter to your projects, and these clear ones will work with any project, no matter the season, and obviously, well, as far as I'm concerned at least, this will get a lot of mileage throughout the winter for sure. I set that panel aside to dry, and then I am doing some mask ink blending here with Distress inks. I'm using Heffy Doodle memo tape to do my masking, and this will be basically the focal point of my card where I will have my little scene. I placed my masking tape sort of 2/3 of the way down, and I blended the top portion of this circle die cut with spun sugar and picked raspberry distress inks. I then shifted the mask to sort of cover the part where I had already done my ink blending, and I am filling in the lower area with cracked pistachio and peacock feathers. And now it's the time to add our third layer of texture, and for that I'm using the Brick Stencil by Fawn. This is another great basic stencil which will get a lot of mileage. I know that already. I was very excited when it was released and I immediately added it to my stencil collection. For my texture this time I'm using Ranger Texture Paste. This is the opaque matte white texture paste, and I just love the look of it through a brick stencil. I think it's really beautiful. In this instance, because I have distress inks at the back of my panel, the texture paste will react with them and will be slightly tinted, so there will be a little bit of that spun sugar showing through the wall. So I'm not basically just entirely covering the ink blending that I have done before. At this point, once the texture paste is nicely spread, I can remove everything, and whenever you use products like this with your stencils and your Make Art Station and your tools, just go and immediately wash them right afterwards, because you don't want these products to dry on your tools. The next step was to work on my images, and the stamp set I'll be using today is the new A Creature Was Stirring stamp set by Fawn. There is one image here from the Dan Sweet Dan stamp set, which is that little picture frame, but it didn't make it in the final card. There wasn't just enough room for that too, so I'm not going to show you the coloring either. For my stamping, I used alcohol-proof black ink by Spectrum Noir, and I am working on Nina Solar White 110 pounds cardstock. The markers that I'm using to do my coloring are Illustrator alcohol markers, and I went for a color palette that was similar to that ink blended circle. So I'm going to have some teal blues, which will sort of tie in with the peacock feathers and the cracked pistachio, and then I'm going to have some pinks that instead will match with my spun sugar and picked raspberry distress inks. Depending on the size of the area, I'm doing either 2 or 3 marker blending, and you can see the names of the markers that I used here on screen in case you need that as a reference. Here for the gingerbread house, I'm using some pinks for the sugar plums, I guess they're called, or anyway for the candy at the bottom. Just a little bit of shade with my IG3 marker, which is a cool gray, to add just some dimension to the frosting at the top. And then I'm using some warm brown markers to color in the gingerbread. I used TN5 and TN2 for the main body of the house, and then I am going to use markers in the same color family for the door, but just a little bit darker. So in that case I used TN9 and TN7, because in my mind this was kind of made out of chocolate. You have to have some chocolate whenever there is something sweet, if you ask me. Anyway, at this point the images are all ready and cut out, the backgrounds are dry, so I can go ahead and assemble everything. I started by adhering the rectangle panel with those glittery snowflakes, and I'm really sorry that you cannot really see how beautiful this panel is in real life. It's absolutely stunning, and it has a much bigger impact than what you see here on camera. Anyway, for some added interest, I decided to raise my focal panel on some foam squares, and then you can see that I already went ahead and glued down some of the images together. So I already have my gingerbread house on the cake stand, and one of the mice has the candy cane already glued to one of his or her paws, I should say, because it's a girl mouse. The scene here is very simple. We have the gingerbread house in the center, and then the two mice are on the sides and are decorating the house. And you know, I don't know, maybe because this circular panel is so small and the images are so small, this is such a cozy card to me. I really love the way it turned out. Anyway, for a little bit of glitter, I added some stickles in the color Stardust, a little bit of glossy accents to the window on the gingerbread house. And then I decided to also use this image with the holly berries to decorate the top left portion of my scene. For my sentiment, I'm using one of the greetings in the Christmas Dreams stamp set by Fawn. I die cut a banner using the Heffy Doodle more strips of yeast die set, as well as that same stitched rectangle that I used for my mid panel in my card. I'm using LDRS inks to stamp the sentiment, and I started with Pistachios Aplenty, but then I wanted it to be a little bit darker, so I went on top of that with Tropical Sea, and I got the perfect shade of mint that matched my color palette very, very well. I adhered the sentiment banner to my card front using some more foam squares, and here is a close-up look at the final result, a beautiful Christmas card with lots of subtle texture that was created with pastes, as well as that gorgeous background dye. And that's it for today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and you found it useful. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment in the comment section down below, and why not share it in your Facebook groups or with your friends. They might find this video useful as well. If you haven't already, you can subscribe to my channel by clicking on my face here. You can activate the notification bell to never miss any future video, and in the meantime, here's a couple of videos for you that might be interesting. As always, thank you all so much for stopping by, stay safe and healthy, and have a great day.